What's going on, guys? FadeitLuie here, bringing guys a brand new video. We're gonna be doing a mid-taper on my boy, so stay tuned. We started off with our Gold FX, creating our first guideline, contouring to his head shape. Keep in mind not to press too hard with your trimmers because you will create a harsh guideline. Now that we're done balding them out, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. We're then going to use the lever to soften up this line and then eventually take it out. Don't forget to use your opposite hand to stretch the skin so you can spread the blend. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to the one guard all the way open and create our third guideline. This is going to be right above the first guideline we created. We're going to use the same guard and the lever to soften up this line and get it ready for the half guard. Now that we're done softening up the line with the one guard, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. Make sure to flick out and use its corners. You want to make sure you use your opposite hand to either comb the hair down or stretch the skin to give you more space. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Moving on to our two guard all the way open, we're going to create our fourth guideline, and this is going to help us connect the higher guards to the lower guards. We're going to use this same guard and the lever to soften up the line and get it ready for the 1.5 guard. We are near the occipital bone, so you want to make sure you detail and take your time. Sometimes after using the 1.5 guard, there's still a faint line, so moving on to your one guard all the way open and using its corners will definitely help remove that line. Now we're moving on to the 3 guard all the way open and we're flicking out as much as possible once we get to the top. This guard is going to prepare us for a clipper of a comb method. Now that we're done using our 3 guard, we can move on to the clipper of a comb method and begin to debulk and make the taper as smooth as possible. When the cutting blade is horizontal, I'm debulking, and when the cutting blade is vertical, I'm blending. I'm also tilting the comb at a certain degree, whichever degree is needed once I pull the hair out. It's also best to keep the hair a little bit damp so it's easier to pick up with the comb. Now that we're done doing our rough draft in the back taper, we can move on to the neckline and use our Gold FX to make them as crispy as possible. I always start off at the bottom and work my way to the top arch using the corners of the Gold FX blade. I also make sure I go slow enough that the hair feeds into the trimmer and that it cuts properly. Now that we're done with the back taper and neckline, we can move on to the side taper and create our first guideline. You want to make this guideline at a curved shape so the fade can flow better. Now that we're done balding them out, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. We're then going to slightly close the lever and erase our initial guideline completely. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to the one guard all the way open and create our third guideline. Again, we're still following that same curve shape and being consistent as possible. After the one guard all the way open, we're now moving on to the two guard all the way open, creating our fourth guideline. We're still using the corners and making sure it's consistent as possible to that same curve we started with our initial guideline. Now that we're done softening up the line with the two guard and the lever, we can move on to the 1.5 guard and use its corners to erase the line completely. Before we use our clipper over comb method, we're going to debulk with the 3 guard all the way open. Now we're using our clipper over comb to debulk and make it as smooth as possible to blend into the top hair. Here I'm using my shave stick so he doesn't bump up. This is right before we use the foil shaver. Now I'm going to use the Babyliss foil shaver to remove all the stubble. Moving on to the C-cups, we're starting off at the bottom and working our way to the top arch. You also want to make sure not to press too hard with the teeth of the trimmer because you could bite them. Here we're heading over to our previous guards and detailing as much as possible. The one guard all the way open is very critical to detailing and also the half guard. You want to make sure you flick out as much as possible and use the corners as much as possible. Now we're going to use our shears to trim his hair and connect the sides into the back taper. I'm making sure that the hair is nice and damp so I get this true length once I pull it with my fingers. When cutting you with your shears, you want to make sure you use the comb to feed the hair into your fingers, hold it tight, and then cut with your shears. I usually make a guideline going across the middle of the head and then connect it to the sides. Taking it piece by piece, making sure I'm as accurate and consistent as possible. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Also, if you comment down below, I'm 100% gonna reply to it. Moving on to our Turkish razor and Derby premium blades, we're going to make them as crispy as possible. But before we do that, we're going to apply shave gel. This is so it makes the skin as smooth as possible when the razor is gliding over it. When using the Turkish razor, you want to make sure you stretch the skin as much as possible and keep the razor at a 45-degree angle. If not, there's a higher chance of you cutting them. What's going on, guys? FadeitLuie here, bringing guys a brand new video. We're gonna be doing a mid-fade on my boy, so stay tuned. We started off with our Goat FX creating our first guideline, contouring to his head shape. You always want to make sure you contour your first guideline to their head shape so the fade can flow better. Now that we're done balding them out, we can move on to our foreguard all the way closed and debulk the top. Now that we're done debulking the top with our foreguard, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. You want to make sure you make this guideline around 1 inch thick so you can spread the blend. Now that we're done setting in our second guideline, we can move on to the 1 guard all the way open and create our third guideline. We are stacking our guards, so make sure you go right above it. Now that we're done setting in our first 3 guidelines, we can move back to our no guard all the way open and slightly close the lever to help us remove our initial guideline. It's always best to stretch the skin with your opposite hand to give you more room to blend. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to the 1 guard all the way closed and begin to erase our third guideline. Using the 1 guard all the way closed and midway will help you soften up this line and get it ready for the half guard. Now that we're done softening up the line with the 1 guard, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. This is going to connect the 1 guard all the way open to the no guard all the way open. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Moving on to our 2 guard all the way open, we're going to create our 4th guideline. This is going to help us blend into the bulk. We're also going to use this same guard and the lever to soften up the line and get it ready for the 1.5 guard. Now that we're done softening up the line with the 2 guard, we can move on to the 1.5 guard and erase the line completely. Sometimes there's still a faint line after using your 1.5 guard, so moving on to your 1 guard all the way open and using its corners will definitely help. Now we're moving on to our 3 guard all the way open, and this is going to smooth out the parietal ridge area, and this is going to help us blend into the 4 on top. Here we're detailing with our no guard all the way open and using our corners. Here we're detailing as much as possible with our no guard all the way open and our 1.5 guard all the way open. Using the 1 guard all the way open to detail is very important, especially when you use the corners. Now we're heading back to a 4 guard all the way closed, and we're going to make sure everything's nice and even on the top. We're also going to run over the parietal ridge area just to make sure it's nice and smooth and no hairs are sticking out. Here we're using our previous guards to detail as much as possible using our corners. Moving on to the back side, we're starting off with our no guard all the way open, creating our second guideline. We're then going to slightly close the lever and blend out our initial guideline. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to the one guard all the way open and create our third guideline. Again, we are near the occipital bone, so you want to be careful and make sure you detail as much as possible. The reason why you gotta spend more time here near the occipital bone because the hair is more dense, and also the occipital bone does make some spots look a little bit darker than they actually are. Now that the line is soft enough with the one guard, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. We are using its corners as much as possible just to detail. Moving on to our two guard all the way open, we're creating our fourth guideline, and this is right above the occipital bone. We're going to use this same guard and the lever to soften up the line and get it ready for the 1.5 guard. Since we're done softening up the line, we can move on to the 1.5 guard and erase the line completely. Now we're moving on to the 3 guard all the way open, and again we're going to smooth out the parietal ridge and then blend into the 4 guard on top. Moving on to the hairline, we're going to use our Gold FX to make him as crispy as possible. We're again going to start off at the middle and work our way to the sides. He does have a little bit of a widow's peak, so we're going to make sure we push it back just a little bit, but not too much where it looks crazy. His hair does go to the side and curls, so you want to make sure you're hitting it at a certain angle and certain way that the hair feeds into the trimmer without you pressing too hard. Moving on to his sideburns, we're starting off with our no guard all the way open, and we're going to create our first guideline, slightly closing the lever, erasing our initial guideline. We're then going to use the 1 guard all the way open to create our third guideline and also blend into the 1.5 guard. Now we're using the 1.5 guard to help us blend into the 2 guard all the way open. Heading on over to the neckline, you want to make sure not to press too hard because you could bite them with the teeth of the trimmer because the skin area is very thin. And the blade glide a little bit easier. When you're using the razor, you want to stretch the skin as much as possible and keep the razor at a 45-degree angle, because if not, you have a higher chance of cutting them. Also, if the client could take against the grain, you want to make sure you do go against the grain because it will make the lineups pop a little bit more. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe is greatly appreciated. Also, if you made it this far into the video, please leave a comment down below. I'm 100% gonna reply to it. This is a little test to see who's actually watching the video full out and through. Drop a comment of my subscriber count down below. I want to see what happens.